Living in Florida, we go to the beach almost every single day with a baby and a toddler, and we pretty much have it down to a science, and I am sharing all of our beach essential must-haves as well as some tips and hacks that will definitely make your life easier. If you guys are new, my name's Rachel from The Confused Mom. Welcome to my channel. I share baby and toddler product reviews, activities, as well as Montessori at-home tips. My kids have pretty much been going to the beach since they were under 2 weeks old. It is a huge part of our life. We have tested out all of the different things over the years, and these are the things that have actually worked for us. I'll also talk about some of the common recommendations people make. Did not work for us. I don't like them. And so yeah, hopefully I'll help you make your decision so you're not having to carry your entire house with you to the beach or bring a beach home with you. As much as kids love sandboxes, our cars should not be one of them. Now with that said, my number one tip about going to the beach with a baby and a toddler is going to be to embrace the sand. Your kids always see you obsessing over a little granule, constantly saying, oh, sand, and wiping your hands. They are going to mirror that same behavior. So the less anxiety you can have around the sand, the less anxious the entire trip and experience is going to be, and the less stuff you're ultimately going to need. You're at the beach not only to have fun, but to have a sensory experience for your kids. So really just invite that in. We spend so much time and money recreating little like sensory trays at home, and here's a huge one already done for you. Now with that said, nobody wants to lug home an entire beach with them. So I always see people recommend have a Ziploc bag for everything, but in my experience, having a Ziploc bag for the kids' wet clothes, their dry clothes, your car keys, your money, all these little Ziploc bags just means more little containers for sand to collect. Instead of a separate bag for every little thing, what I suggest are 2 mesh bags. So I suggest having one for your sand toys. This gigantic one, it costs under $10. I absolutely love it. The entire bottom of this thing is mesh, meaning that all I do is I tie it off, I give it a really good shake before we leave, and all the dry sand comes off. Of course, the wet sand is still going to stick to things, but this does a fantastic job of cleaning out those toys before they go into the car. And the other mesh bag I love is this little tote bag, and the reason I love it is the bottom actually has a zippered cooler bag. So if we are bringing food to the beach, I just stack this full of food and zip it onto the bottom of my tote bag, meaning one less bag to carry. And if we're not bringing food to the beach that day, I just remove this extender. So the sides are all mesh, so once again you can shake out any excess sand, but the sides also have a ton of pockets. The other reason I love it is there is a waterproof zippered bag inside for any car keys or things that you may not want getting wet. It fits pretty much everything we need as far as the kids stuff and our stuff. So inside of here you're going to find our towels. Do recommend getting Turkish towels or sandproof towels. These fold up so much smaller than traditional towels. They don't get waterlogged and super heavy like traditional towels, and they don't trap sand like traditional towels. So I got like a 4-pack for $8 each on Amazon. I'll leave a link to in the description box below. They're not the best quality. If you wanted a better feeling one, we also have them from SandCloud, and those towels feel so nice. They're super soft. They also cost more. Baby wipe, diapers, portable potty, which is another one of my must-haves. If your kid is toilet trained, I do recommend bringing a portable potty. I cover that in my toilet training must-haves video, which I'll link below. And keys. Not a whole lot going on in here, and you may have noticed I did not mention sunscreen. That's right. Kind of a controversial take here. In terms of sun protection, I have a whole highlight on Instagram, which I will link in the description box below, but I am a huge proponent of practicing safe sun exposure first. What that basically means is we leave the beach pretty much every morning by 10 a.m. and we don't go back to the beach until after 4 p.m. most days. We really avoid the beach during those peak sun hours from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. During those hours, we tend to stay closer to the home. We tend to go out in shorter increments, so 20-minute, 30-minute increments. Now, of course, there are times that we go to the beach during peak hours, at which point we focus on long sleeve rash guards, hat, umbrellas, or tents for shade. If there is a situation where I do choose to put sunscreen on myself or my family, it is typically a mineral-based sunscreen only on exposed areas. So one of the common things I see a lot of people say is to put sunscreen on your kids before you leave the house, so that way you're not wrangling them at the beach trying to get sunscreen on them. But here's the thing that is is often not talked about. If you're using a mineral-based sunscreen, which typically has a zinc oxide, that creates a water barrier on your skin. If you then put a rash guard, a long sleeve rash guard over that, and water gets trapped between the skin and the rash guard, you can actually end up giving yourself or your kid a heat rash. I know because I have done this to myself before. So if you are going to use a mineral-based sunscreen that does create that water barrier, I would only suggest putting it on exposed areas that are not being covered by a material. On the note of clothes, I do suggest having a two-piece swimsuit for easy diaper changes, or if your child is toilet trained, they can easily pull the bottoms down. Now, if your kid is still in diapers and you do want a one-piece suit, try to find the ones that have snaps or a zipper all the way down so you don't have to pull their legs out of anything. It makes it so much easier. The other thing I recommend are swim diapers for kids still in diapers too. They're super affordable. The ones with the snaps like this grow with your child and last forever. And my little tip with that too is put your swim diaper on at home and then put a regular diaper over it. This way when you do get to the beach, all you have to do is take off the regular diaper and they're good to go. And as a general rule of thumb, even if you're not planning on going in the water, you probably don't want your kid in a regular diaper at the beach just because it becomes a very hot and humid environment and pretty much guarantees a diaper rash. The other kind of thing I will say on clothes too, if you can, get a fully zippered front. That way you're not having to pull any wet rash guards up and over baby's head. All right, real quick, we're gonna go back to the toy bag situation here. One of my favorite things to pack in the toy bag, obviously we have all of our regular sand toys. Those are a no-brainer. But I also suggest packing a little paint strip like this and a few paintbrushes. So if you have a kid that is just not in the mood to go to the beach, paints with some paintbrushes are a great activity because then your kid can collect seashells and sit on their towel and paint seashells. And I do really suggest having extra paintbrushes because they are guaranteed to make new friends with this activity. A lot of people suggest using baby powder when you get to the car, sprinkle a little bit on you, and all of the sand falls off like magic dust. That was never my experience. Maybe it's because we had wet sand on us and it only works for dry sand. I found the baby powder thing to be super annoying because then now I was covered in baby powder. I also thought my kids got fussier when I was like trying to douse them in baby powder and wipe things off of them. It just wasn't fun for anybody. Say that beach hack is a skip. At the end of the day, you're still gonna have sand in your butt. I mean, maybe you're baby powdering your butt before you get in the car. I don't know. Instead, what I like to do is I like to go into the water, rinse off, and then load myself up with all of the beach gear, and then take a child with me, dunk that child in, wipe them down, and then hold that child on the way up, so that way they're not getting sandy after getting rinsed. Another product I see a lot of people recommend that I'm not a huge fan of are either baby pools or like going to the dollar store and getting a plastic shower curtain liner, and then when you get to the beach, you basically like dig a shallow hole, put the curtain liner in, and then fill that with water to make a baby pool. I think unless beach conditions are super rough, that those are kind of pointless. Now granted, if I was traveling a long distance, I spent a ton of money for a beach vacation, I would probably buy one of those collapsible doggy pools to bring with me, just because I traveled that far and I spent that much money. I wouldn't want my beach trip to be totally ruined by rough beach conditions. So in that case, I might get a beach pool. Again, you're at the beach to provide a sensory experience for your kid. I want my kids to squish their hands in the sand. I want them to discover things in the shoreline, not sit in a plastic pool full of ocean water. Instead, what I suggest is just getting a good old-fashioned shovel and digging up a little baby pool from the sand at the shoreline with little moats so that when the tide comes in, the pool starts to fill up. We also use baby floats, so my toddler likes to wear a floaty. There's pros and cons to floaties. On calm days, it does allow her a lot of freedom of movement in the oceans, and when our babies are younger, before the floaty stage, we're big fans of a swim raft like this that inflates, and these are super easy to carry down with your stuff. We just use the floaty, which has a buckle, to loop through this opening of the raft and just buckle this directly onto our beach totes. Once again, one last thing to carry, pretty much carrying only 2 bags down this way. Now on the note of infants too, if you need your baby to take a nap at the beach, I am a huge fan. I did a whole review of it, comparing it to other popular baby baby bouncers on the market, but we loved the Baby Bjorn bouncer for beach trip. It folded down totally flat so we could just hold it underneath our arms, super lightweight. It allowed my husband to stay back and bounce the baby while I swim in the water with my toddler. On that note, I know a lot of people get nervous about babies overheating at the beach, and one thing I just want to remind you is that coastlines are typically very breezy, and if you're in the shade, it's going to feel cooler as well. When it comes to babies overheating, one of the things I see a lot of people recommend are those like pop-up tents. We had one briefly and we returned it very quickly. So here's what I never see people tell about those. Number one, whenever you have a tent like that has enclosed sides, even if it has mesh sides for ventilation, you're still not going to get nearly as much of a breeze. Number two is that you have to think about which direction the sun is going to be coming up. The sun rises in the east, meaning if we're there in the morning, if we wanted that tent facing the ocean, we would literally just like have a sun shining directly into the tent. It would provide zero shade unless we turned it totally away from the ocean. And those tents have a plastic bottom. And let me tell you, it literally felt like I was a baked potato cooking in an oven. You're gonna need a fan. They're hot. I don't recommend them. I'm not a fan. Instead, if you do want a tent or even just a regular old beach umbrella, I would also suggest bringing a garbage bag with you, one for each post of your tent. And that way when you get to the beach, you fill those with sand and they act as sandbags to hold down the pillars of your umbrella or tent, because let me tell you, like I said, beaches are windy. Chances of them fly away go down drastically if you use a sandbag to weigh them down. When you have a baby and toddler with you at the beach, you do not want to be chasing her off an umbrella or a tent. As far as getting all of your stuff to and from the car, I know a lot of people suggest beach wagons. One of the things that they don't talk too often about is that you can either pretty much put your kids in the beach wagon and then you're carrying all your stuff, or your stuff goes in the beach wagon and then you're carrying your kids. Because if you load those beach wagons up with too much weight, it doesn't really matter how good the wheels are, they're gonna end up sinking into soft sand. The less weight, the less sinkage happens. So unless you have back problems and you can't kind of wear everything, I probably would skip a beach wagon because again, it's just one more spot for sand to collect. It's one more spot to get overheated in the sun, because you have to think about this too, and this goes for your shoes also. If you do use a beach wagon or if you wear shoes down to the beach, you have to cover them or place them upside down. Otherwise, when you go to leave, it's going to be really hot. Instead, my kind of setup is basically this. If I'm gonna wear the baby, I will strap baby on first. I will put on my beach chair second. I also love these beach chairs because they have two pockets in the back, including an extra cooler pocket, and then I grab and pick up any other bags I may need to pick up. You may even want to get a baby carrier that can fit a toddler. I have a full review on baby carriers for both babies and toddlers I will leave a link to in the description box below, so that way if you do have a toddler that's protesting walking back up, you could also just wear your toddler. It's a lot easier to pack a spare baby carrier than a full-on wagon in my opinion. A couple of other things I love to bring with us are a foldable sandproof blanket. I love these because they are water resistant and they provide a little bit more thickness between the hot sand and your butt versus just a regular towel. And then as far as food and drink tips and packing goes, each kid gets their own cup. So that way they're not going into the family bags of food with sandy hands. They tell you what you want, you portion it into the cup, you give them the cup, and when they finish that, you'll refill and so on. We also will do bento boxes where each kid gets their own bento box. So if they get sand in their own food, it's in their food and not my food. I like the SLM water bottles with the fold up straw. I find they just get sand in them a little bit less. And then one of the things I really suggest is mixing your kids' water with some aloe juice or coconut water, adding a splash of salt and cream of tartar so that they get some electrolytes in there. As far as foods we pack a lot of fresh fruit. I know I mentioned earlier that I have controversial thoughts on sunscreen. What we typically do is we say we eat our sunscreen, which basically all that means is that in red, yellow, and orange foods, there's something called lycopene, and research has shown this helps prevent sunburns. It has photoprotective benefits, and so we usually pack watermelon, strawberry, golden kiwis, oranges, all of those types of foods. We also do grapes, meat sticks, cheese sticks, things that are simple, easy to grab, easy to portion out. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and drop me a comment below with what your family's beach essentials and skips are. I'd love to hear what works and doesn't work for your family. Make sure to hit that subscribe and notification bell because I'm going to be sharing some summer toddler and baby activities next, which I know y'all won't want to miss. And in the meantime, be sure to go back, check out my past toddler activity videos, check out that baby viewer and bouncer review. And as always, my name's Rachel from The Confused Mom. Have a good one.